Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Two-Footed Tackle Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. We're here again for another week. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone has enjoyed the last 7 days since we spoke, as always. Once again, just lovely. It's Monday, 16th of October, 1:50 p.m. We're getting to, it's nearly November. So it's nearly November. This time last year, 10 or 12 months ago, we were J'ing up for a World Cup, and it was all getting really, 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 really real. Now we are J'ing up for a European Championships, which will happen at the end of this season. Which I thought about that the other day. I sat there and I was like, shit, we don't have an off season this year. Back into international football, and then the next season, of course, we get the off season. So I guess that is I guess next season will be the first season where we get like a full proper season from start to finish without a interruption at any stage, whether that be in terms of in the off season for an international tournament or during the season like last year's was with the World Cup. So the 24-25 year season from start to from the start of pre-season to the end of the off season to the start of the pre-season for the next year will be fully normal. We're the first one in a couple of years, which is quite mental to think about. Obviously, because COVID as well interrupted the 2020 and 2021 years. So, yeah. Anyways, how is everyone? I hope everyone is well. I feel refreshed. I feel good. I feel ready to speak about some football. Now, of course, it was international football, so we don't actually have a lot to speak about in terms of club football. But like I said last week, the A-League starts up this weekend, so I'll be touching on that. I'll be doing a pretty, I wouldn't say in-depth preview, but a preview nonetheless about the A-League, thoughts, feelings, emotions about it. Of course, Australia played England as well on the weekend, which I'll touch on. Do Australia play again? I feel like we play New Zealand at some stage. I should probably know that. I don't know if that's happening next international break or if that's going to happen soon or what the go is with that. It happens in a couple of days. I thought so. Yeah, so we'll preview that Australia New Zealand game. Probably won't preview it, but just touch on that as well. And then obviously some other international football. Like I said, the A-League starts back. So yeah, very kind of holistic talking points. Probably not going to touch on a lot of things in this episode. Probably a couple of things in far more detail. But before we kick things off, as we always do, I implore everyone, I should say, to subscribe to the Two-Foot Tackle Podcast YouTube channel. Two-Foot Tackle Podcast YouTube channel for all your clips and all the full podcasts. Make sure you leave a notification or click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any uploads, whether that be clips or full episodes, and then share it around and like it. Do all that good stuff. All the socials, Two-Foot Tackle Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for all your Two-Foot Tackle podcasting needs, of course. And then, of course, all the audio platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Like I said, even if you don't listen to it on YouTube, even if you do listen to it on YouTube, just go on over to the audio platforms and give it a like and rating and share it around and give it some plays. It would mean the world. But anyways, I digress. Let's kick things off. Let's just kick things off by touching on the international football. I feel like this might be a slightly shorter podcast than usual. This might just tick over the 40-minute mark. But let's just speak on the international break. Obviously, it's a second international break that we've had, which is a bit annoying. But I guess it is. I guess with the European Championships coming up, you kind of expect the international break to happen. I think there's going to be another one relatively soon as well. So obviously there was one in what was it, September, one in September, and then there'll be one in a month's time in November, and then we're done. I'm pretty sure until maybe like March there might be one with some friendlies or whatever. Or actually no, there will be one because of the playoffs. In like March, I think it will be. So yeah, that's going to be great. But regardless, I digress as well. European Championship Qualifiers were the main things that have happened this kind of qualification campaign. Of course, there's World Cup qualifications that have started for CONMEBOL. They had their first round of fixtures. Over this. Oh no, they had their second round of fixtures, I should say, over this international campaign. So that's obviously getting underway. World Cup qualifiers for the Asian Confederation, I should say. I was going to say Asian Champions League. That's not how it works. Asian Confederation, they're on the way. Some friendlies. The African, as the African kind of confederation started their qualification. I feel like they might have. Or am I imagining things? I think I'm imagining things. Regardless, ignore me. But yes, mainly the European qualifiers, European Championship qualifiers, which are coming to their pointy end. As if we go through the groups, in Group A we have Spain and Scotland both qualifying automatically. Spain got secured with a 1-0 win over Norway, and then Scotland, despite losing to France, they can no longer be caught Norway in third place. Only have one game left and are 5 points behind. So they did enough in their first 5 games, winning all 5 games, including beating Spain at home, which was pretty sick. So yeah, Spain and Scotland go through. You'd expect Norway, I think they verse Georgia. Oh no, Norway versus Scotland away. So if Norway just get a point against Scotland away from home, considering Georgia versus Spain and Scotland, they should qualify, or they should qualify for the qualification playoffs, which of course puts a big cat amongst the pigeons because obviously we all know the talent that Norway have. Haaland obviously started up top again in that game against Spain, and then you got Odegaard and you got Berg and all these other players, right? So Sander Berg, of course, plays for Burnley. So yeah, you got a couple of decent players, especially in that attacking third for Norway, which if they do qualify could actually cause some shocks. And we all know Haaland really does want to make an impact. I feel like we can all tell he really does want to make an impact on the international stage. So I think despite Norway's potentially not well-roundedness, I think they're still capable of doing something quite well should they qualify. But yeah, Group B, this is a group that I keep quite an intent eye on, obviously being having Greek heritage. So obviously France, I think France are automatically through. Yeah, France have qualified for the World Cup, or for the Euros I should say. They will finish top of Group B they're currently on 6 wins from 6 games, a plus 12 goal difference, only conceding 1 goal, and that was to Netherlands. I think that might have been a penalty, actually. No, it wasn't. But ignore me. So yeah, they're through. They're on 18 points. They'll finish top. But this is where it gets really interesting because you've got Greece, Netherlands, and Ireland have horrendously underperformed, which is a big shame. They've only won 1 game in their qualification campaign so far, and that was against Gibraltar. They've lost both games to Greece. They've lost both games to France, and they lost to Netherlands as well. So they've got 2 games left, one against Gibraltar, one against Netherlands. Both are away from home. They're not going to do anything this tournament, and of course, or this qualification campaign, I should say. And Gibraltar, they're bottom quite comfortably. Greece and Netherlands are in a very sticky situation because Greece play Netherlands tonight, I should say. That game would have already happened by the time this podcast comes out. That game happens at 5:45 Australian time on Tuesday morning. If Greece beat Netherlands, so Greece have 2 games left, Netherlands and France, both are at home. If Greece beats Netherlands, it should, emphasis on the should, secure them. Actually, no, it does secure them qualification. No, it doesn't. It doesn't technically secure them qualification. It should secure them qualification because that would mean that Greece would be 6 points clear of Netherlands, and Netherlands have 2 games left, and Greece would have a goal difference gap. Greece have a +7 goal difference, Netherlands have a +2 goal difference. So it should, once again, emphasis on the should, get Greece through. However, Greece do play France in the last game, whereas Netherlands play Ireland and Gibraltar. Both games at home. Or they play Ireland at home and Gibraltar away. So that does put the cat amongst the pigeons. It's far from over. It is far from over, especially from a Greece perspective. I'll be getting up. I think I'm making the executive decision. I'll be getting up to watch that game because obviously I want Greece to go. Obviously, I want Greece to get through. It's going to be Greece's first major tournament since the 2014 World Cup. 2014 World Cup. Yeah, they didn't make the 2016 Euros, did they? No, they didn't. Since the 2014 World Cup, where of course they got knocked down the round 16 to Costa Rica in heartbreaking fashion on penalties. I watched that game, shattering. But yeah, fingers crossed for Greece. They've performed really well. Obviously they've only lost 2 games so far in their qualification campaign. Both were to France and Netherlands, but both were away from home. So I think they can take solace in the fact that they dispatched of Ireland both times pretty convincingly. They beat Gibraltar both times pretty convincingly. It would be massive. I think the fact that they finished both of their games at home will be very good for them. I will be really hoping they get it done, and I think regardless they will, because I think Greece won their Nations League. If I'm not mistaken, they won their Nations League. So I think that means they're automatically through to the qualification, or is in the playoffs, which means even if they don't get it done, it's not the end of the world. But regardless, fingers crossed they do get it done. Yeah, I'll be watching that with the keen eye. So yeah, fingers crossed for the boys. Anyways, Group C is a interesting group considering how the points have fallen. England and Italy currently sit in top two with Ukraine, North Macedonia and Malta. Malta, out of it, North Macedonia would take a miracle for them to qualify. It's really between Ukraine, Italy and England. England currently sit top of the group with 13 points from 5 games. They're one draw coming against Ukraine away from home. Pretty disappointing result. Italy obviously have won 3 games, drawn 1 and lost 1. Their draw came away at North Macedonia and their loss came at home to England. Whereas Ukraine currently sit with 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. Their 2 losses came against England away and Italy away. They obviously drew to England at home. They versus Malta away and Italy at home to finish things up. It would be pretty insane to see Italy fall again, considering the fact that they didn't make the 18 World Cup, won the 20 Euros, and then didn't make the 22 World Cup, which is quite funny. But England's versus Italy at Wembley. Is it at Wembley? I think it would be at Wembley, yeah. That happens on the 18th of October, so Wednesday morning Australia time. If England beat Italy, there's a big chance Italy don't qualify automatically again, which should not happen. I know the European qualifiers are far more competitive these days because countries are slowly catching up to the big dogs, and obviously because of the way that the qualification works, it's very tight, it's very congested, right? Which is good because you don't want just the big teams going. We want the shocks like Netherlands not making tournaments and Italy in past years, right? So, etc. Right? But it will be very interesting. I think it's a really interesting kind of talking point around Italian football right now. Whether or not they can actually get it done. So, yeah, so let's see if they can get it done. It will be very interesting regardless. Another interesting group, Group D. Turkey currently sit top. Wales and Croatia sit in second. Turkey are through, I do believe, as long as they get a point. If Turkey get a point against Wales, they are through. They currently sit 6 points clear of Turkey in second, who are also equal on points with Croatia in third. Armenia, Latvia are the 2 teams underneath those 2. But yeah, Turkey, it really shocked a lot of people. Croatia losing their last 2 games in qualifying to Turkey at home, which is pretty disappointing, and Wales away from home. So yeah, imagine a European Championships without Croatia, considering how well that they've done, especially in the last 2 World Cups and even in the Euros. I think they did quite well. I think they made the quarters in the Euros. Did they? No, they lost to Spain in the 16. I think. I watched like every game of the tournament as well. I should probably know that. That tournament was horrendous for sleep, just quietly, a bit like the World Cup. But I'm sidetracking. Yeah. Turkey, fuck. I mean, a lot of people looked at Turkey for the 2020 Euros and were like, yeah, these guys are going to be the dark horses, etc. And they didn't win a game, or they think they won their last game, but they were already eliminated by that stage. So I don't know. Wales are currently second with a 0 goal difference, and Croatia are third with a 6 goal difference. So I think that says a lot about just how competitive everything can be. So yeah, we'll be interested to see how that develops. Group E, Albania, Czechia and Poland. Moldova are also within a shout. Moldova are only 2 points from automatic qualification. Faroe Islands are sitting at bottom of that group with 1 point. But yeah, Group E is so competitive. You have 4 points separating Moldova, Poland, Czechia, Albania with 2 games to go? Yeah, 2 games to go for all those teams barring Poland. Poland are pretty much all but out, based on the fact that teams have 2 games left. If Poland beat Czechia, maybe they've got a shout, but it looks to be Albania and Czechia automatically qualifying. So you're going to see maybe a European Championship without Poland, which is pretty interesting. Speaking of a European Championships without a big-ish team, Group F, Belgium, Austria, Sweden, Azerbaijan and Estonia. Sweden, 7 points behind they're done. They're cooked. They've got 3 games left. The max amount of points they can get is 9, so we'd have to take a pretty major miracle for them to get through, considering the fact that they still do versus Belgium away, which would have happened by the time this podcast has come out. So if they do beat Belgium away from home, fair play. I don't think they will, so I think it creates an interesting talking point. But yeah, Belgium undefeated. Austria obviously have a pretty well balanced side, and Sweden pretty underwhelming considering the lineage they've got in European tournaments and at World Cups. I feel like a lot of people do like the prestige that Sweden brings. So there you go. Group G, we've got a couple more groups to go. Group G, Hungary, Serbia, Montenegro, Lithuania, Bulgaria. Hungary and Serbia basically are qualifying. Montenegro, in fairness, Montenegro do have a game in hand on Serbia in second place, and they do have a game in hand, or they're 2 points behind with a game in hand. So if they do win that game in hand against Serbia away, quite fitting, maybe they could qualify. Maybe we're going to see a European Championship with Montenegro. That would be cool. That would be really cool. And then Group H, moving on, Group H is a super competitive group with 4 points separating Slovakia, Denmark, Finland, and Kazakhstan. Northern Ireland and San Marino, unfortunately, are gone. How are Northern Ireland falling this bad, man? They lost to Kazakhstan twice. Goodness gracious. Slovenia and Denmark, you're probably the favourites from that group. Finland and Kazakhstan. They've got 1 game left, 2 games left. There'd be 2 games left, wouldn't it? Oh no, 3 games left. My mistake, because there's 2 more. There's 1 more team, so you played them twice. So 3 more games left. Yes, because they haven't played their round of fixtures. I'm sidetracking again. But it would be Kazakhstan. Who would have thought this, huh? They've got 3 games left. Finland, San Marino, Slovenia. If they beat Finland, they should beat San Marino. Go down to that 1 game against Slovenia. Who knows? We could see Kazakhstan in the European Championships, which would be pretty cool. Group I, we've got Romania. Yes. I'm right in saying that, yes. Romania, Switzerland, Israel, Kosovo, Belarus, and Andorra. Obviously, Romania and Switzerland are the 2 clubs at the top of that group. Switzerland have a plus 12 goal difference. They have a 20 goals scored. Who do they spank? They spanked Belarus, and they drew 3-3 to Belarus. Jesus Christ, they drew 3-3 to Belarus with a 90th minute goal from Akanji. Oh no, it was an 89th minute goal from Akanji, and then a 90th minute winner from Abduni. Fuck, they had to scrape through against Belarus. There you go. Who would have thought that, huh? Obviously, we don't really know what's going on in that group, considering Switzerland's game against Israel had to be postponed. I'm not saying anything on the topic, because that's not what this podcast is about, but yes, we'll be interested to see what happens with Israel, considering what is going on in the world right now. Romania and Switzerland, as things stand, are going through, but who knows? Group J, the final group we're going to cover. So the final group we're going to cover, because it's the final group. Portugal are top, undefeated, with a plus 25 goal difference, so there you go. Slovakia are second, Luxembourg are third, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, or Herzegovina, depending on who you ask, fourth. So that's a pretty competitive group. Iceland are also in fifth, Liechtenstein are bottom with no points. Portugal are through. Slovakia should get through. They've got 3 games left, and they don't verse Portugal, which is handy. They verse the 3 teams that are below them: Luxembourg, Bosnia, and Iceland. If they win one of those games, they should be relatively safe and confirmed in the Euros. So I guess it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be very interesting to see the development of the European Championships. We've got 1 more international break to go that obviously that will happen in November, which will finalize all of the all of the groups. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. See, this is where the international break gets good, because there's actually stakes. We're not doing international breaks with fucking Nations League games and friendlies and the first round of qualifiers where it's boring. We're getting into international breaks that mean a lot to a lot of people. So like even when you look at countries like who's like Montenegro. Like Montenegro could automatically qualify for the Euros, which will be insane. You look at countries like Kosovo, who are still pushing, probably aren't going to make it, but they're still kind of pushing. They're knocking on the door. Luxembourg are only 2 points behind. You look at countries like Ukraine, considering what they've gone through, etc. They could qualify. Norway as well. So yeah, a lot of underdog countries could potentially qualify pretty, I wouldn't say convincingly, but or they're not going to qualify convincingly, but could qualify, and it could create a very compelling story, which will be great for football. Okay, I think that's it for the European qualification international break wrap up. Of course, there was some other like friendlies that were played, and some other kind of World Cup qualifiers across Asia. Of course, so it's the first round of the Asian qualifiers for the first round of the World Cup qualifiers for Asia. So yeah, this is not like, this is the real, I wouldn't say bottom of the barrel, but you got like the Maldives versus Bangladesh, and Pakistan versus Cambodia, and games like this. So Australia aren't involved, Iran aren't involved, Saudi Arabia aren't involved, all the heavy hitters, Japan, South Korea, they aren't involved. So we'll touch on the Asian qualifiers in-depthly, of course, because obviously Australia will be heavily involved. When that happens, World Cup qualifications obviously happened in the CONMEBOL space. Their first round of fixtures happened. Brazil draw to Venezuela, which is interesting. Let's look at the lineup. They played Neymar as the 10, Guimaraes and Casemiro as the holding midfielders, Richarlison up front. So they drew, which would have been pretty disappointing for them. Argentina get the 1-0 win over Paraguay, and Nicolas Otamendi goal. Messi did not make an appearance. He made an appearance off the bench. He didn't start. So there you go. They, of course, play their second round, or the second fixtures in that group happen on Wednesday. So the morning of this podcast going out, if that makes sense. So the morning after this podcast goes out. There you go. So yeah, they're the only ones that happened. Of course, you had some friendlies as well, but who gives a fuck about friendlies? In saying that, we're going to touch on a friendly. It was the friendly played between England and Australia at Wembley Stadium. I want to speak about it from an Australian perspective, obviously. Obviously, England beat Australia 1-0. Ollie Watkins' goal just before the hour mark. But we don't really care. Or we care about the result, but it was more about the performance, especially from an Australian perspective. When we look at the lineup that England played, I think it's good to give context. It was a pretty strong lineup. It wasn't like there was no heavy hitters, obviously no Harry Kane, no Jude Bellingham, all these players. But you still had players like Alexander-Arnold played, Tomori, Dunk, Colwill, Gallagher, Henderson, Maddison, Bowen, Watkins, Grealish with Sam Johnson in goal. Players that all play in the top flight of English football, or the equivalent, obviously. Tomori plays top flight in Italian football, and Jordan Henderson has gone to the retirement home, so can't win them all, I guess. But yeah, still a perfectly strong team that is far better on paper than the Australian team. However, I think Australia can definitely hold our head really, really high based on the performance that we were able to put out. The team was interesting. It wasn't, I wouldn't even say our team was full strength. It was close to full strength, but I don't think if we had like an Asian Cup opening round match tomorrow, I don't think this is the lineup we would have played. We played Ryan in goal, Strain, Suter, Burgess, Rouse at left back, Bacchus and Irvine sitting with Metcalf slightly further ahead, Goodwin on the left, Boyle on the right, and Duke up front. People who made an appearance off the bench: Woody Boss, Lewis Miller, Brandon Barello, Aziz Baich, Alan Mabil, and Mohamed Toure. So we made the 6 subs. We made the 6 subs, all got relatively significant game time, probably barring Mo Toure, who came off the bench in the 90th minute. I mean, when you look at the subs that England made, Stones, Trippier, Phillips, Rashford, Foden, and Nketiah. Pretty good players, right? Pretty good players. So we went over to England on away soil and gave it a fair go. And I know the Australian. I know we need to start shifting our focus from, we gave it a fair go and we didn't embarrass ourselves, to we should be winning these games. And I agree. I think we should be going into these games against England wanting to win, and almost, I wouldn't say expecting to win, but having the expectation of us that we can show up. If we do play our best, we can win. And I think we played really well. I think we played quite well. I wouldn't say really well, it's probably a little bit of a stretch. We played quite well, had 14 shots. Granted, we didn't have most of the possession, but I feel like we barely have most of the possession against teams like Denmark, right? Who obviously aren't on England's level, but that's the game plan that Arnie implements, and that is a game plan that worked for us at the World Cup. I mean, when you look at the structure out of possession, I think was very impressive. Our pressing patterns and our pressing triggers were on point. I feel like we really put England under pressure a lot, and they really couldn't advance fluidly from the defensive half, or from the defensive third, I should say, especially when building up from the back. Maybe that's because they didn't have Stones playing or whatever, but I feel like Lewis Dunk's still very capable in possession, and so is Fikayo Tomori, right? So you swings and roundabouts type thing. But I think we can, as a country, we can look at that performance and think, you know what? Yeah, we didn't win. Yeah, we didn't win. Yeah, we didn't score. But we really showed that, okay, the World Cup wasn't a fluke. The World Cup wasn't a fluke. We weren't riding a momentum. We can sit here as a legitimate footballing nation that is capable of putting it up and taking the powerhouses of international football to their limits, right? And England's are what are they ranked? They're ranked 4th in the world, right? We're ranked 27th. So there's a pretty big disparity, and I think if you had said before the game that England would win 1-0, I think a lot of people would have sat there and thought, yeah, okay, that's a fair result. I don't necessarily think that it's the best result that Australia could have got, because we had a couple of chances. Obviously, we had, I think it was Metcalf's header in the second half, I think it was, that just hit the post. So that was pretty unfortunate. Was that at 0-0, or was that at half? Was that at 0-0? I think it might have been. Or no, it might have been a 1-0. A 1-0. Regardless, we had a header that hit the post. Obviously, we had that chance from, I think it was Borrello, I think it was. Oh no, Boyle. Sorry, in the first half. Who probably should have done better. With that chance. Yeah, you look at it and you think, okay. You look at it and you think, okay. You had a lot of big opportunities. To score, obviously, like I said, that Boyle, I say it was Boyle's chance, it was Strange's chance, but Boyle kind of manufactured it, just laid it off the right strand. You had that chance, you had the header that missed, and you had a team that hasn't had a camp. Like England played there, England had this game in preparation for a European qualifier. We're having this game just as a friendly. So, like, I think you need to look at it from the preparation standpoint. It's like, okay, we haven't had a competitive game since the World Cup. We haven't had a competitive game since the World Cup, whereas England obviously have been playing those European Championship games, those qualifiers. So I think you have to take solace in the fact that we drew to Mexico 2-2 in a not bad result. Granted, we lost to Ecuador, but we also beat them like 4 days before. We lost 2-0 to Argentina, which was an result. Probably could have done a little bit better there in that game. I think what the last friendlies have like shown, I think this is kind of a bit indicative of kind of the culture, right? What the last couple of friendlies that the Socceroos have played, what they've shown, Jesus Christ. What the last couple of friendlies that the Socceroos have played, if I could speak, that would be terrific. I don't know why I'm jumbling up my words, but as I'm trying to say, the last couple of friendlies that Australia have played, what it's shown is Firstly, it's shown that the World Cup wasn't a fluke. I think it's pretty clear to see right now that, granted, Australia have only won one game since that World Cup, but it wasn't a fluke. Like, we deserved to get to where we got to, and we deserve the results that we got in that tournament. But it's shown that we have properly developed into a footballing nation that can rotate players, that can rely on a system rather than individuals, aren't relying on big moments from one player to get us out of danger. We have a system, we have a structure, we have an identity. And while it's not the best football, while it's not the most attractive, while it's not tiki-taka passes, 70% possession, and all these intricate and complicated tactics that only the best of the best can produce, it's built on hard pressing out of possession, really structured and diligent structure out of possession in terms of sitting back in 2 banks of 4 at times, even a bank of 5 if needed, and being really, really structured behind the ball. And then going forward, being really fluid, being expressive in our counter-attacking options. I mean, when you look at the players that played, we had Goodwin, Boyle and Duke. You had Toure coming off the bench. We have players who are very capable of being this expansive, direct, counter-attacking way of playing football. And then you're not even taking into account the likes of Irukunda and Garen Qual, who are 2 very young footballers who are some of the best footballers that Australia have produced when you're looking at it from their specific age brackets. Like, I don't think there's been better 17, 18-year-old Australian footballers than what Irukunda and Qual have been right now. When you introduce them into the squad, when you introduce them fully into the squad, give them a couple of international breaks of properly getting integrated with the tactics and with the culture, they're going to take that front third and just own it, both of them. So I think a lot of positive can be taken out of this game. A lot of room for improvement can be taken out of this game. However, I do think that overall we can sit there and be like, okay, we didn't win, we didn't score, but we can But we did okay. We did okay. Would we have liked to win? Of course. Is it disappointing that we didn't win? Of course. If we verse England again, regardless of the circumstances, should we go into that game expecting and wanting to win? Of course. However, you've got to look at the nuance of the fact that England have been playing competitive games for a long time. We haven't played a competitive game since the World Cup. Their squad on paper is far better than ours on their home deck. All these mitigating factors towards us and these exacerbating. That's absolutely not a word. All those positive factors for England, I should say, meant that we can be pretty proud of the result. So yeah, that's just one of the takeaways that I had, or some of the takeaways that I had from that game. Next game that we play is against New Zealand. I expect heavy. I don't expect heavy. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't expect heavy rotation. There we go. I don't expect heavy squad rotation. I expect a relatively decent squad rotation, especially from the game they played against England. Obviously, having to travel from England back to Australia for the game. Is that game at City Football Stadium? No, it's actually it's in England. Right. Okay. So it's in Brentford. Right. Okay. I don't know why that's happening, but it is. So yeah. All right. So we're playing New Zealand in England. Great. So yeah, I expect a relatively rotated squad, despite obviously being a game that we should win just for confidence sake. I think it'll be a rotated squad, but I still think it should be enough. So yeah, they're just my 2 cents on the whole England's, or us versus England's kind of situation. So there you go. That's enough of that. Let's move on. As I'm actually going to take a quick break. I'm going to pause the recording quickly just because my throat's feeling a little bit like dry. So I do this whenever I pause the fucking podcast. I say this a lot. It means nothing to you, but for me, I'll be like 5 minutes maybe, and then we'll come back and speak about the A-League men's season, which is happening this weekend. Can't wait for it. Okay, we're back. Speaking on the A-League men's season, which is kicking off this weekend. Obviously, the A-League women's season kicked off this, as in last weekend, as probably when you're going to be referring to it as, which is pretty good. Some pretty good results. The Victory women lost 2-1, unfortunately, but it's right. Still early, so we move. For those new here, I'm a Victory supporter, so yes, I accept your commiserations for the last couple of years. Thank you. So, yes, let's just give a preview. I don't want to preview like each individual team. I feel like that's pretty boring. Just give a preview of the season in general. Obviously, last year was pretty tumultuous, to say the least. Obviously, we had the World Cup. We had a pretty good start to the year. The start to the season was pretty good in terms of popularity, in terms of people going to the games, in terms of the quality of football. Obviously, you had the new signings of Nani, Charlie Austin, and all these guys. It was great. And then it just kind of fell off a cliff. Obviously, the World Cup happened, which stopped the league a little bit. But once Socceroos performed well, you thought, all right, the league's going to take this momentum and carry it. No, they didn't. Danny and his boys notoriously fucked it. We all know what they did. Yep. So yeah, that's awesome. And then obviously what happened with the Melbourne Derby was terrific. Just some of the best stuff you'll ever see. So, and then basically from there, the league never recovered and got no people to the grand final. No one really cared because the APL fucked a lot of people. The OSM fucked a lot of people. And yeah, it was pretty shit, to say the least. However, new season, fresh start. As a league, we need to come together and just go fresh new start. Now, what are some things that have happened? The grand final decision could be reversed. If that happens, I'll be here speaking about it. But we're not going to speak about that because that's not confirmed. What we do know is that, VAR is not a thing. VAR is not a thing for the first, round, I think it is. That's interesting, I think. Is it something like that? Yes. So no VAR for the first round or two. Now, what my thing about that is, there's no VAR, which is air. In terms of no VAR, good. The fact that we couldn't this is what it is. I'm a staunch I'm a staunch VAR hater, right? I really dislike VAR. I think that's quite well known, especially to those who watch and listen quite often. I really don't like VAR. And if I could get rid of it from football, I would. So the fact that it's not in the A-League for the first couple of rounds or however long it's going to be, part of me is happy that that's a thing. Part of me is like, okay, great, we can get back to pure football and football that is genuinely football rather than basically a big game of geometry. However, the means in which the VAR isn't going to be there, the fact that the league couldn't afford it slash couldn't get it for whatever reason, rather than choosing not to have it, it does leave a little bit of a bittersweet feeling for me because it's like, fuck, we're a professional league and we can't get VAR, something that we've had for the past 4 years, something that's ever present across 99% of professional leagues across the world, and we can't get it rather than choosing not to have it. That's a little bit. That's like, really, is that the reason why we can't get it? Like, if the A-League, if the APL turned around and said, we don't want VAR, we want football without it, I would have been all for it. It would have been great, love it, perfect, superb stuff. However, they've basically come out and said, yeah, guys, we can't get it. That's like, come on, guys, fuck. There's so, like, come on. You sold your soul for $300 million and you can't get VAR? Fuck. Come on. That type of thing. So, swings and roundabouts, but I guess you can't win them all. Regardless, when you're looking at the A-League season this year, we obviously want a pretty competitive year. I think in comparison to other years, this season will be quite competitive. I think there's a clear, like, I don't have an actual table ladder prediction because I've made that mistake before. So I don't have an actual ladder position, but I'll give my opinions on where I think other clubs will like fit in terms of where I think clubs will be in terms of like their positioning. I think I don't know I don't know where this season's going to go because I feel like, yes, it's going to be I think it's going to be very competitive. I do think it's going to be very competitive. However, I don't know whether or not we're going to see a team be so far ahead of everyone else, similarly to how City have been kind of the last couple of years, where they are the best team by a mile, and then from second to seventh, second to eighth is the competitiveness, or whether or not we're going to see maybe last to eighth, seventh be terrible, and then the top six be very competitive. I don't know in what area the league's going to be competitive, but I feel like we're going to see firstly a league that's going to be very good in terms of quality. I think some of the players that teams have brought in look very, very good. I mean, some of the additions that some teams have made, I think make the league stronger. Granted, some outgoings are a little bit tough and a little bit annoying, but I still think on a whole the league, quality-wise, has gotten better. It's slightly, but I think it has. I don't think it's going to be noticeable. I don't think we're going to fucking become Champions League level quality in terms of the league. But I think it's going to be quality enough, or the jumping quality is going to be noticeable enough. So I think there's that. I also think the fact that whatever happened last year kind of turned away a lot of fans. So I think this year it's kind of like a complete reset for a lot of people. So I think some people are like, okay, last year it happened. A lot of football fans, a lot of true football fans don't like what happened last year, both in terms of the APL, in terms of what happened at the derby, etc., etc. We had the Matildas in the off-season just spark this new light into the country that I've never seen before. Let's try to get around it. The Socceroos, obviously, we all know that their story and how well they did in Qatar and etc., etc. So maybe this fresh start can bring a lot of lapsed fans back. It helps that Paramount now have pause and rewind, even though it took them 2 years to get it. Like, come on, guys. Come on. So, yeah, it's good that they finally have got their shit together, relatively so. If the new kind of, what am I going to say? If the grand final decision gets overturned, or hell's going to break loose, because it's going to be it's going to be, here we go. We're going to be back. We're going to be back, baby. So there's that. Of course, there's obviously the new expansion into actual areas of the country which are very viable and actually have some promise behind them, rather than a suburb in the southwest of Sydney. So There's that. And obviously the National Second Division, there's that. Of course, the Australia Cup was pretty good this year. So there's a lot of things around this country that gives me hope that this season will be good in terms of from a holistic perspective. When we take a look at it from a micro level, like I said, I think what I do know is I think the bottom four, I think the bottom four, I think the bottom four set. To be honest, I think the bottom four for the most part is going to be relatively simple, I want to say. However, there is probably a team that could challenge some of it. I do think the bottom four. I'm pretty confident in saying Macarthur, Newcastle, and Wellington are going to be pretty low. I'm pretty confident in saying that. I do think Macarthur, Wellington, and Newcastle are going to be pretty low. I think so. I don't know, but I think they're going to be. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to make my bold call. Not bold call, but I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to skirt around the edge. I think the bottom four will be, in no particular order, the bottom four will be Newcastle, Wellington, Macarthur, and Perth. I think the next rung up from that will be Brisbane, Adelaide, Victory, maybe even Central Coast. And then from then on, you've got City, Western United, Sydney, and Western Sydney. So yeah, that's 4, 4, 4, 12. That's how I've got that bracketed. So I've got the league bracketed into four sections in no particular order. I'll write this down so I don't forget. Also, don't say anything. So yeah, you've got these teams here. You got these teams here. These teams here. Yes, okay. So, I've got, instead of doing a full ladder prediction, because I feel like the league is going to be very competitive, so I don't actually know where teams are going to finish. So I feel like I'm giving myself a fantastic out here. This is called knowing the consequences of making bad predictions and putting them online. I'm going to save my ass by doing it very broadly, so no one can come to me and say you got this wrong, when realistically I've put one team over 4 spaces, so it's going to be very hard for me to get it wrong. So yeah, I've got the league bracketed like this. So in no particular order, the bottom 4 will be Newcastle, Perth, Macarthur, Wellington. They'll be the bottom 4. The next 4 will be Adelaide, Brisbane, Central Coast, and Melbourne Victory, once again in no particular order. And then the top 4 will be Melbourne City, Sydney FC, Western Sydney, and Western United. They're the 3 brackets I've got 4 clubs in. The reason, I'll give some reasons. I think the bottom 4, I think the bottom 3 are clear. Newcastle's probably the one that's a little bit stiff. I think. Perth are going to be okay, though, I think. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be very competitive. I'll just say those bottom 4. Newcastle are the ones that are a little bit stiff, in my opinion. The next 4, so that's obviously 12, so that's up to 8, or it's up to 9. So 2 teams will miss and 2 teams will get in. From the 4 that I've got in that mid-table area, I think Victory will get in the finals just, and I also think it will be. I'll say Brisbane. I like what they did pre-season in the Australia Cup, so I'll say Brisbane scrape in, and then I think Western United will probably be the worst out of the top 4, but still be in the top 4, and then Western Sydney, Melbourne City, and Sydney FC. So they're the brackets that I've got all 4 teams in. I think it'll be interesting regardless, though, and I think whatever happens, it'll be a very competitive year. I think we can take quite a bit from the Australia Cup based on the fact that Sydney were able to win it. I think they'll be quite good this year. Brisbane were able to get to the final, so I think they'll be okay this year. When you look at teams like Victory, I mean, being a Victory supporter, it's going to be a very interesting season because, yeah, like being a Victory supporter, I'm going into this season with very much an open mind because we obviously had the worst year that we've ever had. We had the worst year we ever had 3 years ago. We jumped back up and hit, and yeah, if I could speak, that'd be terrific. Being a Victory supporter, I'm going to this year very open-minded because I don't know. Like, I truly don't know what we're going to do. We've made some improvements on the squad last year. Some people have left, we've brought some people in, which makes our squad pretty good. We obviously underperformed horrendously last year. The year before that, we were very good. The year before that, we were terrible. So it's very much a seesaw at this stage. We have a lot of players who can facilitate, with not a lot of players who are strikers. We've got one recognised striker, and that's a 450-year-old Bruno Fornaroli. So you take where you can get in terms of that perspective. I just don't know. I think a Victory will make the finals. I think it would take a couple of signings in January for Victory to make an impact in finals. I think the squad is one more year of investment away. One more year of investment, one more year of squad refreshment away from properly challenging again. Assuming everything goes well off the field, behind the scenes, everything like that. Assuming that's all fine and dandy. On the field, I feel like we're one more year of refreshment away before we can challenge. That's just my opinion, but I think it'll be very interesting. Victory could turn around and become the best team in the country, or could be the worst. I feel like it's going to be a very competitive year. So there you go. I think that's it in terms of A-League predictions. If we're going to let's give premiers. I think the grand final will be City will make it. I feel like it'll be a Sydney versus City grand final, unfortunately, because I hate both of them with all my heart. And I think City will win. No, Sydney will win. No, yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll go City versus Sydney, and Sydney will win. No, actually, you know what? No, I want Western Sydney in there. Why not? I want Western Sydney in there. I'm going to go Western Sydney versus Melbourne City grand final, and Western Sydney winner. Sure, we'll go with that. That's my final prediction. Okay, that's all for today's episode. Thank you very much for watching another episode of 2 Foot Tackle Podcast. Make sure you do all the formalities I said at the beginning. It would mean the world. Make sure you share. If you have watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Speak to you guys next week, where we'll be reviewing some A-League football, which I'm very excited about. European football is back. So we're bound to have a lot of talking points come next week. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff. See you guys next week. Stay well, stay safe. Goodbye.